To briefly recap the work I did for my midterm, I was inspired by this TED Talk by Mark Kushner about social media shaping architecture. That led me to Tatiana Bilbao's social housing project, where she interviewed 2,000 people. Although this wasn't through social media, and she isn't very active, except for on her Twitter page, which is mostly about marketing, networking, internal communications through the architectural community, and thought leadership. So this gets a little bit of information out to the public as long as they're looking for it. Similarly to Twitter, but usually in a lesser sense, my information pointed me to Facebook, Google+, and LinkedIn. For actual inspiration, people go to Pinterest and to Instagram. Now, the issue with these last two is that it's really just about what people like and how well they're photographed. The comments that we see are shallow. So for a real conversation with a community, for a real source of learning through the public, I tried Reddit. And since it has thousands of comments on their first page, I figured maybe there'd be at least some conversation going on. But going through every page I could think of that's related to architecture, even searching the other way around of people asking Reddit questions, and it's sad to say that architects aren't doing the asking. But people are asking architects questions. So how do we better communicate to them? When I'm looking to learn about something, I usually go to YouTube, and for a direction to go with this, I started with ArcDaily, which confirmed it. The most important architecture stuff is about teaching. But what about architects themselves? What are they doing? What is Bjarke Ingels doing on YouTube? Not a whole lot. He hasn't posted in 2 years. But Zaha Hadid is. A few months, a couple weeks ago. So what is going on in the topic of architecture? Now, I like this platform because it's not only initially controlled by the person uploading the content, but afterwards there's a good use of a comment section that can show where the overall feel is and not listing it in order of how it happened. And in the topic of architecture, we get into the hundreds of thousands when we start talking about teaching people. So the desire for the public to learn is there. It's the architects not supplying it to the public themselves. We're not telling people what we do, so why do they care? They'd rather see us fail, and they have a lot more interest in the music industry and the film industry, which reflects the interview we read with Herzog for our last course. He said that he doesn't believe in entertainment and architecture because of us being lost to the music industry and the film industry. But he also mentions us being lost to digital media. And since we create 3D models and there's a push for VR touring of our buildings to sell them, couldn't we be a form of digital media? I mean, we're supposed to entice people to buy our designs. Why can't we try to incorporate that into something that can grab hold of a lot more people? Even if it doesn't sell to them, the fact of the matter is we need to grab hold of people. Kanye West recently announced Yeezy Home, the architecture arm of his fashion label. And if we don't step up our game, then architects aren't going to be known for architecture anymore. It's going to be any celebrity who decides to put their name on the work of architects instead of the actual architects themselves. It's not going to be the people designing it, it's going to be the people who decided who gets to design buildings. It's a sad future if it happens.